Today we're going to look at section 7.1b, compound interest. Our objectives are to be able to find the amount of money in an account after interest has been compounded, and to be able to find the amount needed to deposit into an account to yield a certain amount after interest has been compounded. So what is our formula for compound interest? We're going to use A equals P times the quantity 1 plus R over N to the NT. Now, it might seem kind of like a scary equation, but most students are really good at remembering it as soon as we do a couple of examples. There are 5 variables, A, P, R, N, and T, and you need to know what each one stands for. A stands for our future value. That's the amount in the account after we have interest. P is called the principal value, and that's the amount you put into an account. R is called the interest rate, and we always write it as a decimal. N is the number of times interest is compounded per year, and T is the number of years money is in the account. And it's important to remember that T is in years, not months or days or anything like that. So we're going to go through 4 examples. Example 1 says assume $1,000 is deposited into an account that pays 8% annual interest compounded quarterly. What is the balance after 2 years? Well, the first thing you want to do is go through the 5 variables, A, P, R, N, and T. You don't have to write this out separately, but I'm going to do it for each problem just to help you understand what they are. Assume $1,000 is deposited. That's the amount of money that was put into the account, so that's our P value. It pays 8% annual interest, so our percentage is 0.08 because it's written as a decimal. Compounded quarterly, so that means if it's compounded quarterly, how many times a year is that? Well, a quarter is 4, so that's 4 times a year. What is the balance after 2 years? So they give me 2 years, and they want to know what is the balance. So I want to know what's in my account after that. So the first thing we're going to do is substitute each of those parts into our equation. Into the P, the R, the N, and our exponent is N times T. So that would be 4 times 2. So all you're going to do is type it in exactly how you see it into your calculator. So I'm just going to type in 1,000 parentheses 1 plus 0.08 divided by 4 raised to, now if you don't know 4 times 2 is 8 or you don't want to do that, you just have to be very careful to do parentheses for my exponent 4 times 2. Okay, I'm going to hit enter. And since it's money, we're going to round the 2 decimal places, so I get $1,171.66. And that's all you have to do. Our second example, assume $5,000 is deposited into an account that pays 6% annual interest. Find the balance after 7 months if the interest is compounded monthly. So again, I have A, P, R, N, and T. Okay, let's see what each of those parts is equal to. Assume $5,000 is deposited, so that's how much money is put in, our P value. Pays 0.06% annual interest. Find the balance after 7 months. Now that's the part, it's 7 months, but T has to be in years. So how do you convert that to years? That's 7 out of 12 months of the year. So we write it as a fraction 7/12. If the interest is compounded monthly, well, if it's every month, that would be 12 times a year. And again, we want to know how much is in the account. So find the balance. So first thing I'm going to do is substitute everything in the equation. My 5,000, 1 plus 0.06 over 12 raised to the N times T. So 12 times 7 over 12. Okay. So again, I'm just going to type this in exactly how I see it. So 5,000 parentheses 1 plus 0.06 divided by 12. Close the parentheses, raise it to. And if you don't know that 12 times 7/12 is just 7, just do 12 times 7 divided by 12. Just make sure your exponent is in parentheses. And I'm going to round that to 2 decimal places, so I get $5,177.65. That's how much would be in my account after 7 months. So we're going to change up the problems a little bit here. So now it says you have $13,560 in an account after 4 years and 5 months. How much money did you deposit if the account pays 3.4% annual interest compounded semi-annually? So now I don't know how much I put into the account, but I know how much I have now. So what I'm going to do is I know I have $13,560 after 4 years and 5 months. So I know that's 4 years, and so plus 5 months, and I know that's 5/12. So that's how we can write that. How much money did you deposit? Again, I don't know that. If it pays 3.4%, so that's 0.034. And now it's compounded semi-annually. Okay, think about a semicircle. It's half a circle, so that means every half a year we get interest, so that means twice a year. One for the first half, one for the second half. So now I'm going to substitute all that into my equation. So, this looks a little bit crazy, but I'm just going to do that now so we don't have to do any of the math ourselves. We're going to let the calculator do all the math. Okay, 4 plus 5 twelfths. Now the reason I put the plus sign, it is 4 and 5 twelfths, is because the calculator needs to know you're adding this. And if we write a mixed number 4 and 5 twelfths and we type that in our calculator, it's going to think it's 4 times 5 twelfths and not 4 plus 5 twelfths. So that's going to be important. So if you notice, the variable that I'm looking for is on a side with stuff. It doesn't, it's not alone like the a is. So what I'm going to do is type the right-hand side into my calculator, get a decimal, keep it in my calculator, and use that to calculate p. So in my calculator, I'm going to use parentheses. I'm going to type in the right-hand part. 1 plus 0.034 divided by 2. Okay. Raised to in parentheses. 2 times, or 2 times, we could just do 2 parentheses, 2 times, and I'm just going to use parentheses, 4 plus 5 divided by 12. And then close both parentheses. Hit enter, and I get this really long decimal. Now I wrote it all out here. Now this decimal just keeps going on, so I don't want to round even though I went out quite a few decimal places. I'm just going to leave it in my calculator, but now I need to get p by itself. To do that I have to divide by this. So I'm going to take my 13,560 and divide by this answer. To do that I'm going to hit second, negative, and then hit enter, and I'm going to get an answer of $11,683.99. And that's how much I had to put into the account in order to get $13,560 after 4 years and 5 months. Okay, our last example. Okay, A, P, R, N, and T. So if I go through this, it says how much money must be deposited. So what I'm asking for is the P value. Pays 7% annual interest, and it always says annual interest. Compounded yearly, so that means every year, so that'd be once a year. To have a balance of $1,000 after 6 years. So what I'm going to do is substitute all of that into my equation. And I'm going to do the same thing, type in the right-hand side. Hopefully you know that anything divided by 1 is itself, so I don't really have to type it in. If you do, nothing's going to happen. It's not going to be wrong. Raised to the 1 times 6 is 6. Okay, so I'm going to get this long decimal. Again, I'm just writing this down here just for your use. You wouldn't have to write that many decimals on your homework or on a test. It's just to show you what was in the calculator. But again, I want to take 1,000, divide by that answer. And in order to have $1,000 in this account after 6 years, I would have had to put in $666.34. I hope you feel a little bit better about compound interest, either finding the amount you need to put into account or the amount in the account after interest has been compounded.